My female friend texted, "Split this $500 bill or I'm calling the cops." After ordering lobster, I said call them. When the police saw her previous 3 arrests for the same restaurant scam, they had different handcuffs in mind. I, 28 male, met Veronica about 8 months ago at a networking event. She was charming, seemed successful, always dressed to the nines. We hit it off talking about startups and tech. Started hanging out maybe once a month, coffee here, drinks there. Nothing romantic, just what I thought was a decent friendship. Looking back, there were signs. She'd always suggest upscale places but then forget her wallet, or her card would mysteriously decline. I'd cover it because, friends help each other out. She'd always promise to get the next one. Never did. Last Tuesday she texts me out of nowhere. Haven't heard from her in 6 weeks. "Veronica, hey stranger, miss you. Dinner tonight? There's this new seafood place I'm dying to try." Me, can't really afford eating out this week, saving for my car repair. "Come on. My treat, I just closed a huge deal. Let me celebrate with my favorite person." Her treat? That was new. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The restaurant was fancy, like valet parking and cloth napkins fancy. She was already there, halfway through a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my weekly groceries. "Order whatever you want," she said, waving the menu at me. "This is my celebration." She went absolutely wild. 2 lobsters, oysters, some fish I couldn't even pronounce. More wine. Appetizers I didn't touch. She kept ordering, telling the waiter to keep it coming. I had a pasta dish and water. I'm not gonna lie, watching her order was making me uncomfortable. But hey, she said it was her treat. Right? The bill came. I didn't see the total at first because she grabbed it. Then I watched her face completely change. She stared at it for a solid 30 seconds, then slid it across to me. $523.47. "We're splitting this," she said. Not asked, said. I actually laughed. "You're joking. I'm not paying for all this myself. That's insane. You ordered all of it. You said it was your treat. I had pasta." She got loud. Real loud. "Are you seriously going to make me pay for everything? What kind of man are you? The kind who was told this was your celebration dinner that you were treating me to." That's when she pulled out her phone. "Split this bill right now, or I'm calling the police. I'll tell them you invited me here, and now you're refusing to pay." The entire restaurant was staring. The waiter looked like he wanted to disappear. But something in her eyes, this wasn't panic. This was calculated. She'd done this before. "Call them," I said. She actually looked shocked. "I'm serious. So am I. Call them." She did. She actually did. Put it on speaker too, probably thinking it would scare me. Told them I was refusing to pay for our dinner and threatening her, said she felt unsafe. The dispatcher said they'd send someone. While we waited, I pulled up my phone and screenshotted our entire text conversation. Her inviting me, her saying it was her treat, everything. I also noticed something interesting. She'd been tagged in several restaurant photos on Instagram over the past few months. Always at high-end places. Always with different people. The photos would disappear after a day or two, but Google Cache is forever. The cops showed up. 2 officers, looking thoroughly annoyed to be dealing with this. Veronica immediately turned on the waterworks. "He invited me here. He said he'd pay. Now he's trying to force me to pay for everything." I showed them my phone, the texts. She invited me, said it was her treat. I have a $32 pasta. She ordered everything else. The older cop looked at the bill, then at her, then at me. "Ma'am, did you order these items?" We both ate. "Sir, what did you eat?" "The linguine and water." The cop turned back to her. "Ma'am, I need to see your ID." The way her face went white, I knew something was up. She handed it over reluctantly. The older cop stepped away, made a call, came back 5 minutes later with a completely different expression. "Ma'am, you're under arrest." "What?" "You have 3 outstanding warrants for theft by deception, all from restaurants within a 10-mile radius." My jaw hit the floor. 3 warrants? Turns out Veronica had pulled this exact same scam multiple times. Order expensive meals, find someone to pin the bill on, threaten to call the cops if they didn't pay. 3 other people had pressed charges. She'd been dodging court dates for months. As they cuffed her, she screamed at me. "This is your fault. You could have just paid. It's just money. You ruined my life over money." "No," I said. "You ruined your life over lobster." The restaurant manager came over after they left. Turns out they'd been watching her since she walked in. They had her photo in their system from another high-end restaurant's warning email. They were planning to refuse service, but wanted to see what would happen when the bill came. They comped my pasta. Update 1. The last 48 hours have been absolutely insane. First, turns out Veronica made bail the next morning. How do I know? Because she showed up at my apartment building at 6 a.m., screaming in the parking lot, "You owe me $2,000. That's what I woke up to. I looked out my window and there she was, designer heels and all, yelling at my building. That's what I had to pay for bail. You're going to pay me back. I started recording immediately. My neighbor came out first, told her to shut up or he'd call the cops. She turned on him. Mind your own business. This doesn't concern you. Lady, it's 6 in the morning. Everything concerns me right now. She lasted about 10 more minutes before property management showed up. The property manager, Deb, absolute legend, told her to leave or she'd be trespassed. Veronica tried to argue that she was conducting legitimate business. Screaming in our parking lot at dawn isn't legitimate anything, Deb said. Leave. Now. After she left, I filed a police report for harassment. The same older cop from the restaurant actually took my report. She's something else, he said. You might want to look into a restraining order. But wait, it gets better. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was a lawyer. Her lawyer. Mr. Name, I'm calling on behalf of my client, Veronica last name. She's willing to drop all civil charges against you for emotional distress and defamation if you pay her $5,000. I actually laughed. What charges? What defamation? You publicly humiliated her and caused her false arrest. False? She has 3 warrants. Those are separate matters. This is about Tuesday night's incident. Tell your client I'll see her in court, and I'm recording this call, by the way. He hung up immediately. Then the social media started. She made an Instagram post, public of course, with my picture from the restaurant's security footage, calling me a predator who tricks women into dinner then refuses to pay. Said I was part of some elaborate scam targeting successful women. The comments were wild. Half her followers were calling for my head. The other half were people she'd scammed before, telling their own stories. One guy posted screenshots of her doing the exact same thing to him at a steakhouse 6 months ago. Another woman said Veronica had borrowed $3,000 for a medical emergency and ghosted her. The post lasted 4 hours before Instagram removed it for harassment. But here's the best part. Remember those restaurant photos I mentioned? I did some digging. Found 12 different people she'd dined with at expensive restaurants in the past year. I reached out to 5 of them through Instagram. All 5 had similar stories. Expensive meal, sudden demand to split an insane bill, threats to call police or make a scene. 2 actually paid just to avoid embarrassment. One guy paid $400 for a meal where he'd only had a salad. We're all meeting next week to compare notes. Update 2. Remember that meeting I mentioned? It happened yesterday. And holy hell, 7 people showed up. 7. All with Veronica stories. There was Brett, who'd been hit for $400 at a sushi place. Megan, who'd covered a $300 wine bar tab. Diego, who'd paid $600 at a steakhouse when Veronica claimed her ex stole all her cards. 2 others who'd been threatened with police. And Tanya, who had the wildest story of all. Tanya had been Veronica's roommate for 3 months. Veronica had answered her ad for a room rental. Seemed perfect. First month's rent and deposit cleared. Then Veronica's checks started bouncing. When Tanya tried to evict her, Veronica claimed tenant rights and said she'd sue for discrimination. Tanya had to formally evict her, which took another 3 months. During that time, Veronica stole packages, used Tanya's credit card. She'd somehow gotten the number and even tried to steal her identity. She opened 3 credit cards in my name, Tanya said. I'm still dealing with the fraud reports. We compiled everything. Every receipt, every text, every threat. The total amount she'd scammed just from our group, over $4,000. And that's just 7 people. Brett had already pressed charges after our dinner fiasco, made local Facebook groups. Megan was filing this week. They all wanted to know how to proceed. Then Diego dropped a bomb. I hired a PI after she scammed me. Want to know what I found? Veronica's real name isn't even Veronica. It's Bethany. She's got a record going back 6 years. Fraud, theft, identity theft, check kiting. She's been doing this across 3 states. The successful businesswoman thing? Complete lie. She doesn't work. This is her work. She's got warrants in 2 other states. We decided to coordinate. Everyone who hadn't already filed charges would do so this week. We'd all show up to her court dates. Strength in numbers. But Veronica Bethany wasn't done with me yet. This morning I woke up to 67 emails, all from different email addresses, but all obviously her. Threats, insults, fake legal documents, even a poorly photoshopped invoice for emotional damages. My favorite was one claiming to be from the FBI saying I was under investigation for interstate harassment. The FBI. We're not paying for her lobster. I forwarded everything to the detective handling her case. Then at lunch, my boss called me into his office. Someone had called claiming to be a detective, saying I was under investigation for assault and theft. My boss, thankfully, isn't an idiot. He asked for the detective's badge number and callback information. The person hung up. We called the actual police. It was her, obviously. She'd violated her bail conditions by contacting me. There's now a warrant for her arrest. Again. The detective called me an hour ago. They picked her up at a hotel downtown. She was using a fake name to check in. Had 4 different IDs on her. They found my picture printed out with red X's drawn over my face. They also found a notebook with detailed plans to ruin 6 other people, all from our group. She's being held without bail this time. Update 3: court happened yesterday. Buckle up because this was absolutely bonkers. First, she fired her lawyer. Decided to represent herself. Showed up in what I can only describe as a TV lawyer costume. Black suit, fake glasses, carrying a briefcase that the bailiff said was full of nothing but printed YouTube law videos. She tried to claim she was the victim of an elaborate conspiracy, that all 7 of us who showed up were part of a predator ring, targeting successful women. She actually used the phrase, orchestrated persecution, with a straight face. The judge asked her to explain the 3 previous warrants. Misunderstandings, Your Honor. The restaurants were confused about who ordered what. 3 times? I'm very confusing, Your Honor. The judge didn't even try to hide his eye roll. Then she tried to submit evidence, a folder of screenshots from her own Instagram showing her at nice restaurants, which she said proved she could afford the meals herself and therefore wouldn't need to scam anyone. The prosecutor immediately pointed out that those same photos were taken right before each reported incident of theft. She tried to cross-examine me. It went like this. Isn't it true you invited me to dinner? No. You invited me. I have the texts. Those were doctored. They're from your phone number. You hacked my phone. To send messages to myself inviting myself to dinner? Yes. The judge actually had to take a recess because the court reporter was trying not to laugh. But here's where it gets really crazy. During the break, she tried to approach Megan in the hallway to settle this like adults. Megan started recording immediately. Veronica Bethany offered her $50 to leave. $50. For a $300 theft. When Megan said no, Veronica said, fine, I'll tell them about your drug problem. Megan doesn't have a drug problem. She's a pediatric nurse who gets tested monthly. What drug problem? The one I'll make up if you don't leave. She said this. On camera. In a courthouse. With 3 witnesses. They added witness tampering to her charges. When court resumed, her public defender, they'd assigned one despite her refusing, convinced her to take a plea deal. 18 months in jail, 3 years probation, restitution to all victims, and she has to register as a fraud offender. Apparently that's a thing in our state. She took it, but not before screaming that we'd ruined her life over nothing, and that she'd make us all pay when she gets out. The judge added 6 months for the threat. As we left the courthouse, the prosecutor pulled us aside. Turns out they'd been building a case against her for 2 years. She'd hit at least 40 people that they know of. Our testimony sealed it. Oh, and remember those other warrants in different states? They're extraditing her after she serves her time here. Final update. So I genuinely thought this was over. She's in jail, I have a restraining order, life goes on, right? Wrong. Last week I got a call from my mom. Someone had sent her a Facebook message saying I was in jail for assault and needed $5,000 for bail. The message came from an account pretending to be my aunt. My mom, being way smarter than scammers think, called me immediately. Are you in jail? No, Mom, I'm at work. Someone says you need bail money. It's a scam. Turns out Veronica Bethany has a cousin, Jasmine, and Jasmine decided to avenge her cousin by trying to scam my family. Her logic was that I owed them for getting Veronica locked up, so she was going to get the money however she could. She'd found my family through my social media, now private thanks, created fake accounts, and started messaging everyone. My sister got one saying I was in the hospital. My dad got one saying I'd been kidnapped. My uncle got one saying I needed money for emergency surgery. Fortunately, my family isn't stupid, and they all called me directly. But Jasmine kept escalating. She found my workplace, it's on LinkedIn, and left reviews saying I was a predator who targets women. She signed me up for hundreds of newsletters. She even tried to cancel my utilities by calling and pretending to be me. Didn't work. Passwords exist for a reason. I filed a police report. The detective from Veronica's case actually laughed when he heard the name Jasmine. We know her. She's got her own record. Not the brightest bulb, that one. They picked her up 2 days later. She'd been doing this from her work computer at a law firm where she was a receptionist, had been a receptionist. They fired her on the spot. She was charged with harassment, attempted fraud, and cyberstalking. She's looking at 6 months to a year. At her arraignment, I went, she tried to claim she was defending family honor. The judge asked if she understood that her cousin was convicted of fraud. That doesn't matter. Family is family. Family is going to jail is what family is, the judge replied. But here's the twist, ending that still has me shaking my head. Remember the notebook they found when they arrested Veronica? The one with plans to ruin people? The detective called me yesterday. They'd been going through her hotel room more thoroughly. Found her real notebook. Not the revenge one, her actual records. She'd been keeping detailed notes of every scam for 6 years. Every person, every restaurant, every amount, like a twisted accounting ledger. The total? $273,000. $273,000 in 6 years. That's not including identity theft, credit card fraud, or the rent scams, just restaurant and borrowing money scams. She turned being a terrible person into a full-time job. And honestly, she was pretty good at it until she tried to make me pay for her lobster. The case is now federal because of the interstate fraud. She's looking at up to 20 years when you combine all the charges across 3 states. All because she couldn't just pay for her own food. The detective told me they're using this case in training now. How Instagram posts and lobster took down a 6-year fraud ring is apparently going to be a real presentation at a law enforcement conference. I'm still getting messages from random people she scammed over the years, thanking me for finally stopping her. One guy from another state said she'd hit him for $2,000 with a fake investment scheme. Another woman lost $5,000 to a fake charity. Veronica was running. The restaurant? They sent me a gift card for services to the community. I've eaten there 3 times this month. I avoid the lobster. As for me, I learned a valuable lesson. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. All those little red flags I ignored because we're friends, never again. And if someone invites you to dinner then tries to make you pay for their lobster, call their bluff. They might just have 3 warrants. Edit. Since people keep asking, yes, I have all the documentation. No, I'm not sharing personal info or case numbers for obvious reasons. And to the person who messaged saying they think they know Veronica Bethany, check your credit report. Seriously.